the shit. Like, you know what I
And
mean?
he
Like
acts
anything
on
to
it,
get them
man.
to like push them in that direction, even if it's negative.
Would you say?
Anything to push the person, like for the people that care about them, like if you have like a friend that's like that, you'll find yourself going into negative like ways of getting them
And that's
to move
bad,
their.
right?
It's a good long run, but horrible
No, look,
socially.
I
You can be a
think
dick to someone, and like you might what you're saying could be correct, and you're just being a dick. You have to be a dick about it. Like it's the only way you can get it through their head, and like you're gonna kill your social relationship with them. But in the end result, they'll have like a better understanding of like, like what like, I guess when it comes to like stimulation or where their goals are, at least, right? So
I don't
I don't know.
conceptualize it like that. I actually conceptualize it differently. I think, and it's not necessarily contradicting what you're saying. I'm saying short term, I think it's really good to shame someone into doing something because immediately you're like, fuck my rep. It's like my rep. That's something I care about.
It's called
It,
reinforcement. It's a real thing.
would you say?
It's called negative reinforcement. It's a
Right.
real strat.
And I
Yeah.
don't think it's good long term. Because if you need negative stimuli, you always have to be contending with shit that I don't think you should really be contending with. It's like,
Yeah,
fuck.
it's like I don't know, like there isn't a real like strat method of using it, and using it like okay, there's periods of time in which you might have to use like negative reinforcement, and then there's like but you can't continuously use it after they like if you get them to do the thing because of negative reinforcement, it doesn't mean it's a good idea to continuously be like negative to the person, right? Kind of like
Oh,
a switch thing where you're just like, all right, oh, you did the thing, okay, now it's positive reinforcement, right? Instead of just being like long, like that's kind of how you like dip the long term part, honestly. Because like I've seen people that are like, oh, I like treat this person like shit. They like act differently now. Like that's a horrible mindset. Like you want to have positive reinforcement. If you're like this thing they did is dumb, and I want to like like get them to see if they want to change it or not is a better route.
right. And
Like
going back to what I'm saying is that you want to tie your dopamine to doing shit that benefits you. Instead of like cleaning my room, I can only be shamed into doing that because now you need somebody to constantly shame you and you're not going to feel good about it because you're not
it's
getting
really
that dopamine shit. Would you say?
yeah. Oh no, that's what I was saying. Like long term, it's really this is what I say. Like long term, it's pretty bad because like if that becomes a relation, then it's just shit because you're just like shitting on someone over and over for doing simple shit, and like it'll be a point where you're like, why am I even doing this? Like what's really the point? Like because like oh they're doing the things, and then like they'll start like seeking that negative reinforcement like subconsciously because it worked that one time. Is where you have to like mix it with like positive reinforcement and be like, oh, like I don't know, I'm gonna take a picture if you don't clean your room. Then like an example would be that the person cleans their room and the person that was gonna take a picture of it because they didn't do it is still like being an ass about the way they clean their room or something. Like you know what I mean? Like it becomes like a weird loop where you both parties see the negative reinforcement as somewhat beneficial, but it harms both parties socially at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Wow, I was talking more like mental health toll. If you're constantly
Yeah.
shitting on yourself to get shit done, then you're now taking a mental health toll.
Mentally, like I guess I said socially, but mentally it's a strain.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, right? Is that finding enjoyment out of doing like hard shit that's uncomfortable. I think that's really positive. I mean that is good. And when I see people doing this easy bullshit and they're like, yeah, no, I'm doing this easy fucking bullshit. Fuck that,
The
man.
superiority complex from negative reinforcement is very real as well because like let's say that person looks at like let's say they just cleaned their room after someone was like gonna expose how bad their room was or something dumb like that to get them to clean it. Let's say they go to a friend's house and they see their friend's room is shit. It kind of trickles down. So now this person that had a dirty room is going to another person with a dirty room, and it's like your room's shit. And I clean my room. It becomes like a loopy thing. Yeah, it's like negative reinforcement is beneficial in certain areas, but it's usually your get your shit together type deal. Like like not like it's horrible to use as a general method of getting someone to do something. They'll just kind of get stuck where they're like, oh, like if I don't, like instead of being like, I like my room being clean, they're like, if I don't get my room clean, people are going to expose me for it being dirty. They're two completely separate things. It's much better for the person to just want their room to be clean naturally than like someone having to push it on them to clean it. I'd say when you bring up the zombies example, it's kind of like it's better for them to want to play fast than someone forcing them to do it. Yeah.
True. Well, this is Pluto. I need to find him. Oh, I didn't even notice him. Fuck off, Uha. Oh, he does multiple times? Oh, he's happy now. She's pretty slow.
Oh, you are fighting Pluto.
Yeah.
I didn't even know, like... I'd even, like... I don't even think I found him, or it might have been the second time, but... I think, like, somebody had to, like... Or, like, just told me. It was like, oh yeah, go do this. And I was like, well, what do you mean? I just got it handed to me.
Why is he not dead? Bro, his angry face? Not gonna lie. Pretty funny. Oh my god, he's doing so much damage. Let me reset this round. I should probably get rid of his. I don't know.
You got it, bro. Trust.
I wish I could use stab, and then my friend gives me enough MP so I can do it, but that's not how it works, unfortunately.
How you doing?
Oh, hi, Trickies.
Huh. Okay, I'm gonna massage him.
Yeah, you guys there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my lord, 48 damage?
That's wild.
That's way too much. I gotta. Nice, you got bottled up. How are you bragging about your muscles when you're just a fucking head?
Yeah, you just lost him. What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck? That was on crack.
I mean, legs, I guess, but
Man, he got. Man, he definitely skips leg day. You crazy?
fucking wild. Nah, he looks jacked. He could be just tricep, bro.
Strikes a pose. You ain't posing. I'm pretty sure she's slower. Oh, it's complex. What the fuck? Attack, defense, and speed foes. Oh. Nice.
I fucking love this OST.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, his legs are actually more jacked than I thought they were. See ya. Just falls off screen. Just falls off screen. Fuck it. Land bretzelize.
Pissing it down outside.
Yeah, did you know that's a god pissing?
I've thought about that.
They don't even call him Pluto. He just fucks off the ninth planet, apparently. That's what they called it. No, I need to go and heal. I like when you find secret bosses like that. Chew
There's a
food.
couple of them.
So
Yeah. Ah. So I got distracted by the boss fight. Real talk, I will make fun of what you like. And I think you should be able to accept that. I don't think you should get defensive about that shit. Unless it's like unless it's on purpose, what the fuck? Unless it's several times. It's just like, oh, okay, here we go again, running through the motions of you talking shit about the same shit over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Alright, it's getting a little bit boring.
I feel like that's like a different issue than just that, though. Like, that's just like, I feel like that'd be for anything like that. Where it's like you're just targeting it over and over again. It's not even just about that. So, yeah, no, I don't really think there's like a problem with that.
It's down. On the smoothie seem like the way right now. That's the way. Then I'm going to say I spent my money. How far am I through the game?
Not that far. Like maybe like I don't know, like 15% or 10%, something like that. I don't know.
Okay, good. Is this fucking Pokemon? To walk through this house? About to lose my fucking mind. Oh, is it another fight? Oh, that's interesting. Get fucked. Got fucking executed. Bittiest, ittiest, bittiest. So this guy's called Small. No. Look at all my awards. Damn, these characters are buns. So I can run now, finally. So many random as fuck characters. No, Junior just doesn't know how to stay put. All he wants to do is go outside. Yeah, I agree. This guy's got an orange TV, and they live in the fucking present. This family records everything? What, even when they're having sex? Oh, they don't have sex, they want a triple bed. Definitely not fucking.
No, that's why it's a triple bed.
What'd you say?
No, that's why it's a triple bed. What are you talking about?
Well, so they have sex with their son too.
Way, dude.
Yo, keep it in the family, bro.
Yeah, you need to keep your genetics pure. Pure? Pure.
What do you mean that's royalty? What do you mean?
Man, I'm like a fucking Targaryen, bro. Like, of course I'm gonna fuck my family. Kidding me? Cousin, sister, brother. Fuck the whole lot. He looks just like me, haha. Sorry, I'm a bunny slaughterer. Got blood on my hands. Maybe I killed your dumb fuck, son. I know, facts. Hate when people leave rubbish on the floor. I never understood that. You guys don't learn respect. Or realize that maybe I'm a little bit exceptional. Circumstantially. But I don't know. Because it seems like a pretty drilled in thing that don't drop your litter on the floor. Who don't litter. It's paradoxical. Why? Why do you have to litter? I don't understand. So simple, just don't do it. But I don't get why people do it. I don't get the impulse to do it. It's like one of those things. It's like, were you just not, was it just not drilled into you? Because it can't be the case that people just don't learn that. Like, oh yeah, you know, you should keep your communities looking nice instead of looking like shit. Because then, why the fuck would you want
What are the
something to
aesthetic
look
is
like
to
shit?
look like shit though?
Would you say the aesthetic doesn't look like shit?
Yeah, no,
Rubbish on
like
the
what if
floor.
the aesthetic is to look like shit?
Would you say?
Oh, what if the aesthetic is to look like shit? Like that's the aesthetic. Like you know, like the homeless fashion wave.
That's definitely some trendy San Francisco ultra fucking liberal bullshit that I don't give a fuck about. Like, you could go and wear your fucking trash bags while protesting the fucking police. Don't.
Bro, this trash bag cost me $5,000. I don't know what you're talking about. It's
$5,000 getting it off the street because you're trying to, because you said it was a homeless aesthetic. No, I'm sorry, get that shit away from me. Trash bag wave? I don't care about trash bag wave. Vaporwave I can do, but not trash bag wave. The fuck? So what is this little girl? I've not been paying attention. Hi, I'm Pessy, and you probably noticed I love Sweetheart. Man, she looks like the girl from One Piece. Corona. I am the ultimate fan. No, you're just a fanatic. That's it. What? She's a lunatic. And her house is Sweetheart too. So we're gonna meet the Sweetheart, and we're gonna meet, and are we gonna meet somebody with a more thorough collection of Sweetheart merch? Oh shit! I can recycle because I have something that can be recycled. See, if this was Disco Elysium, I definitely wouldn't be selling shit. That's the first game I think I played where it's like, do not sell your shit. In most games, when you find dog shit on the floor, you just sell that shit. Right? In most games that you play, JRPG specifically, you just sell shit. Would you say?
Yeah, like Pokemon nuggets, the nuggets in the trash cans, literally. That's literally like a Pokemon thing too. You just find like a nugget, like the nuggets are just there for you to take them out of the trash and resell them for shit.
Right. Yeah, you just sell everything. There is no reason not to sell shit. And I mean, I'm talking about shit that doesn't signify any value. Because some, it would be like, oh, magical potion that heals your health by 50. It's like, yeah, of course you're not going to sell that. It tells you what to do. There's a utility in the game. Or, you know, like a poison barb or charcoal. It increases my my poison and fire attacks, respectively. It's like, you're not going to sell that, but it tells you what it does. But just the random shit that you find in Disco Elysium, it's just like, it's just like, you just won't envision that you will use it. Because you're not really used to the game. It's more like real life. It's like if I find a glass bowl, there may be an opportunity for me to be like, oh, okay, glass bottle. It's like I can actually use that. I think that's so cool about Disco. That was a really, really cool game to play. Because it had you thinking about how you interacted with things a little bit differently. And I also just love that world. I could go back to that world anytime. Shit is so sick. You guys need to play it. It's a must play.
Wait, what game?
Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium?
Disco, like dancing disco.
Disco Elysium, alright.
Indeed, yeah. It's a really fun game. It's like you're in some. Well, it's like a completely fictional world. You might not at first realize that you're basically this is like post-communist state, and everything is just a shithole. Think about the fall of USSR, 91, and life expectancy is just down in all post-Soviet states. It's just shit. But in Disco, communism fell like you're in the 50s. Communism fell in the 10s or some shit. And everything's just been stagnating. And you're just in a shithole. Just in an utter shithole.
It's just like dystopian society post like collapse type deal.
It's a post-collapse society. And you're just there. And you're a cop. And so they hate you because this is like a shithole that's sort of been forgotten, tucked away. And they have their own people doing the policing. Basically vigilanteism. And they don't trust you. Like, you don't be around. They trust their own vigilantes. The thing is, the guy leading them, he's, making sure they get paid and shit. He's like the union boss. But he's still a fucking crook. It's really cool.
Or something like there's like corruption in the vigilantes as well. Like,
I wouldn't say the vigilantes are that corrupt, but they're being wielded by a corrupt person.
No.
Right. But everyone, gray morality. You can't go. So there's you're there. The casus belli for you being there is there's a guy hanged, and the hanging was done in the background of a union dispute with this company called the Wild Pines, and they own the dock. The Wild Pines group own the dock, and they employ the workers, but the workers are like, nah, we're striking. But there's more shit that's going on under the roof or under the hood, and you have to figure that out just by talking to people. And talking to different people is really fun in this game because of the way the skill system works. It's not a traditional level up system or anything like that. You basically just have a bunch of so you have amnesia, right? You wake up, you don't even know where the fuck you are, and you have to figure out things as you go along. And it's really cool because you sort of find out, how did you get amnesia? Like, how the fuck did it happen? And there's actually different answers depending on what you stumble across. But the voices in your head are basically like snippets of your past self. So there's like one...
Oh, it's like memories that just kind of jump back, and you have like a certain like role where you can choose which like path you go. Like, it's like kind of like a fabled thing, but with memories.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say they're memories, but they're aspects of your personality based on, I guess, your memories or your past experiences. And there's like one really cool one where it's like there's one masculine stat. If it's high enough, it's like, there's this. It's called like the doomed commercial area, and there was a haircut place or a salon, and there was an androgynous haircut, and your masculinity was threatened by seeing the androgynous haircut, and I thought that was really funny. I was like, oh shit.
What is an androgynous haircut? Just like a short like haircut or some shit? Like,
do you know what androgynous means?
No, I know what androgynous means, but it's really odd
to envision
like...
that. Well, you just can't tell if they're a man or a woman. That's it.
Oh, I see.
So it's like a guy, slightly longer hair, and it's like
longer, okay. More feminine. All right.
Yeah, but it's like still looks masculine, Maybe there's a little bit of an Adam's apple. I don't know though, can't tell. But I thought that was really funny. Shit, as a kid, I actually used to be threatened by shit like that. Where it's like, fuck. And I used to be like, it's like no goes allowed. And I'm talking about when I'm really young. Actually, no, like, maybe when I was out until like 15, I was like this. What'd you say?
Oh, were you on like cootie level with it or what? Like, you know, you're gonna get cooties type shit?
Well, we never had that in the UK. I don't even really fully know what that is. I've just heard it being referenced.
It's a fictitious disease you get by being around a female or someone of the opposite gender. So like, if you're like it's a huge thing, I guess, in the
no,
US.
I don't. It's not. My shit was not fictitious. It was like, all right, if I'm gonna, it's like I can. It's sort of like the thing where it's like, oh, you're fighting a woman in a video game. It's like, fuck, I can't lose because it's a woman, and women aren't meant to be as capable as men in that video game. That's the sort of thought process I was going through. That's just like this. It's like the dumbest shit, right? It's like, why is this even relevant? Why am I even getting friended by just a woman playing? It's just the dumbest shit. And I used to be like that. So I can totally relate to, you know, this guy where he's not thought that shit out, or at least like his past self hasn't really thought that shit out, hasn't really confronted any of the dumb shit that he thinks. And he's been super threatened by like, you know, somebody, you know, confronting gender roles by, you know, saying like, oh, androgynous haircut. I thought that was cool. I found that relatable to how I used to be as a kid. And I can just smell that on a lot of people, where just super judgmental over shit that is basically defined by society. Is like, why the fuck do I care? Like, why am I attached to something that's defined by society? That makes no sense. Like, who the fuck cares?
No, I mean, that's fair, right? Like, I brought up cooties as it's like a huge thing in elementary schools here, where like it's just a huge cooties thing. Like you're like, oh, like, you know, if you go
it's
around
like
someone with
fictitious disease, if you hang around a woman too much, yeah. That's like more of like that's just like that's like kid shit. I'm talking about real people would think, like, people still think this in like their adult life. I'm talking about something that you could easily rationale as an adult.
It keeps going because they get raised off of these, and then it just kind of keeps going where there's like social barriers between genders and how you view it. Absolutely.
Right. Well, I thought that game was great. I really liked its view on amnesia. I definitely disagreed with it initially, where it's like, you know, you have amnesia, but there's just things in that there's sort of mechanisms that activate, and by mechanisms, sort of like thought processes that sort of activate, that are so intrinsic to you, that activate regardless of if you've, you know, wiped out your memories. Sort of like, you know, him feeling threatened by an androgynous haircut. That
like,
sort of shit.
neural they're just kind of wired like a certain way regardless of their memory. Yeah.
Right, exactly, right. And it's sort of and it's something that you don't notice, right? You don't notice the little because you're generally not thinking about, you know, the little different things different ways you think about something. It takes a deliberate action to sort of go, whoa, hold on, I'm getting stuck in, you know, a bad thought spiral, you know. If you have a habit of, you know, thinking a certain way, and the game definitely treats it like that, where there are things that are, and I'm not saying it's like a genetic thing, but it's just something that has been ingrained in you that's been reinforced so much that you do behaviors without thinking about them. They become habitual. But that habitual behavior you don't even realize. And that you could only notice. I'm talking about so ingrained and kind of normalized by society that you could only realize if an alien came up to you that has a completely different cultural background and goes, ain't that fucking weird that you do this dumb shit? And then you're like, yeah, it's kind of weird that I do this dumb shit. I never really thought about it. Yeah. What'd you say?
It's like third-party self-awareness, right? So like being a third party in your own life essentially is like, it's just like a ability of being self-aware of certain issues from what you already taught throughout, like, being raised. So
Right.
like food's a really good example of this because like a lot of people they'll move over somewhere and like the food there is completely different and they don't even know what the fuck it is. Like, you know, and it's like they would obviously it's because they're not from that area. So like I think there's a huge like I almost call it like region locking people. Like people get really region locked. So I don't know. I like shit that kind of pushes that for sure.
And time log too. I think that's like a big thing.
Oh, time log, yeah, region time, yep, space and time, bud.
I'm talking about like years and shit. So let's say like founding fathers are wearing like tights. You know, they're like, yeah, we're, you know, the epitome of masculinity. Or at least like
I'm so
people will
masculine,
point at.
to show how
What'd you say?
oh, they're so masculine they can wear tights. You know what I mean? Like you know, it's
Right.
a different like back then. Also, they're in their 20s. Like a lot of people don't realize this, but like a lot of the founding fathers for the U.S. were they were all in their 20s. Like
Oh,
they
I had
look
no
really old
idea.
with the wigs and everything, but no, they're all in their they're like 20s, maybe 30s, really young.
Oh, it makes you
People
think.
assume they're really old, but like they're actually in their 20s. They were in their 20s, like Jefferson, like you name it, like freaking, they're literally in their 20s most of the revolution.
Are you gonna say they're in their 20s one more time? I heard that about 4 times. You didn't quite drill it down for me.
Yeah, my bad. My bad.
No, I know what you mean. That's another thing. That's something that Galactic needs to learn. When he's in an argument, this guy goes, "Bing!" And it's like, bruv, let's take a chill pill. You're stumbling on your words right now. You're repeating yourself. Let's take a chill pill.
Let him-
That's how
let him-
Tricky's always gets him.
Gotta let man cook.
Yeah, but you don't want to cook yourself. You getting the oil was just spilling from the pan and hitting him. Hmm. Yeah, but yeah, I did need to do that third party self-awareness shit. Where I'm like, okay. Isn't it kind of weird that I give a fuck about people being androgynous or whatever, or people just challenging themselves? Like, you know, let's say, you know, you've got fucking Captain Jack Sparrow wearing mascara and shit. It's like, why do I feel? Well, actually, I didn't feel a certain way about that. I didn't even know he wore mascara, but that's just an example. It's like, why do I feel a certain way about this? Like, isn't it just like I live in a society and I'm just defined by my time and space? And that's it. And that's it. And that's it's no, there's no, that's the foundation of how I think. It's not like, oh, this is really bad because of this or that or that.
You ever heard of like an agent versus environment argument with like specifically it's in like AI, like a lot of people use it for AI, like an agent in an environment. Like for instance, if like the agent is completely a result of said environment pretty much every time. So like if you have somebody in, I don't know, rural Georgia or some shit, right? They're gonna have like their environment is just rural Georgia. Everything they get from, if they have internet in rural Georgia, then they're getting the internet from rural Georgia. You know, even if they're connected to people around them, like or sorry, away from them, they're still tied to it being where they're from. So like I think a lot of the time like people start getting to where they start they become somewhat self-aware when they change. Like an agent usually changes the way they act off of like whatever environment too. So like yeah, it's a huge thing in AI training. I love that as an example because I mean, like I don't know, you can see people that are from specific environments. Like if you move them from a certain place, they'll just like they'll either become like it almost becomes like a fight or flight instead of being self-aware. Like kind of the human response is like fight or flight, especially with stuff that's like not like socially norm from where they're from. So I don't know. Let's say that everyone wore pink hoodies for some reason. Like, and there's a huge stigma about the color pink being feminine. Like, if you're going to use it for a gender bias or something, right? Like, they're either going to be like, "Why is this happening?" or they're going to completely ignore it happening and just move on instead of actually like thinking about like their opinion on it. It's a huge mental thing.
Right.
There's actually there's a book I want to recommend. It's called I Am a Strange Loop. I would highly recommend reading that book. Very good book.
I'm a strange loop.
Yeah, I'll
Oh.
link it in. I'll link it in general. A friend
Yeah,
gifted me
that's-
this. It
That's a lot better. What the am I retarded? That's fucking stupid as fuck. I saw brimstone and I just picked it up. I am a strange loop. Of course, that would be the combo. Yeah, no, that's predictable. Some fucking LSD trip. This man. One of our greatest philosophers and scientists. Wait, when is this? 2007. Scientists of the mind ask, where does the self come from, and how ourselves can exist in the mind of others? Can thought arise out of matter? Can soul, consciousness, I arise out of mere matter? If it cannot, then how can you or I be here? I'm a Strange Loop argues that the key to understanding selves and consciousness is the Strange Loop, a kind of abstract feedback loop inhabiting our brains. The most complex and central and complex symbol in your brain is the one called I. The I is the nexus of... I don't even really know what nexus means. Define, I just know demon cells. A connection or a link between things, persons, or events. Okay. Events that is. Maybe that are. Whatever. I'm not here to critique Merriam-Webster. You probably know more than me. Gonna do an appeal to authority right now. Pretty simple. I'm gonna keep reading this. Is the nexus of our nexus in our brain one of the many symbols seeming to have free will and to, like I said, seeming to have free will, because I don't believe in free will, fuck that, and to have gained the paradoxical ability to push particles around rather than the reverse? How can a mysterious abstraction be real, or is our I merely a convenient fiction? Does an I exert genuine power over the particles in our brain, or is it helplessly pushed around by the laws of physics? These are the mysteries tackled in I Am a Strange Loop. Douglas, holy shit. Let me do some basic reading skills right here. Hofstadter. That is such a mouthful. Hofstadter's first book-length journey into philosophy since Gödel, Escher, Bach, compulsively readable and endlessly thought-provoking. This is a moving and profound inquiry into the nature of mind. Nature. Oh, it's just nature of mind, not the mind. Alright. I don't think I've read any philosophy books. I wonder how rudimentary my philosophy is. My philosophy is... I'm trying to think of like the philosophical concepts that I care about. It's like no free will. I think that's like really basic. That's 101. That's philosophy 101. Do you believe in free will? It's not anything.
Yeah, that's like the tip. That's what. Yeah, if I am like yeah, I am. Am I? You know, type deal. I know. I checked. I don't know if you know like Hegel. Hegel's a really good like ground start.
I know the name. Not read any. Actually, I definitely know the name. The complete phonology of spirit. It's phonology, man. Look that up real quick.
The existence of spirit, to put it simply. Spirit being your consciousness. I got
It's a form of qualitative research that focuses on the study of an individual's lived experiences within the world. Yeah, I'm gonna take that definition over yours. Oh my god, violin? You fucking serious?
Hello, I'm Gregory Sadler, and this is the beginning of a new series of videos which I'm going to be shooting, each of which should be about 25 to 35 minutes long, that are going to be focused on Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit. We're going to go through the entirety of this work, passage by passage by passage. I'm trying to not skip any of the portions of it, even the portions that seem almost indecipherable. We're going to dig into them and make sense of them. This is, for me, a sort of new experiment. I've done a lot of video lectures, as some of you may know. I've put together a number of courses ranging from existentialism to intro to philosophy to ethics to religion in America.
Existentialism. I love anything that's existential. It's like I'm... Like, I don't know if you care about spoilers, but I certainly don't, so I'm gonna tell you anyway. So in Disco Elysium, the world, once you learn about it, is really interesting. Because it's, don't think about it like an Earth, globe, I should say. It's not like a globe. It's,
Like flat Earth.
they don't actually know, but they suspect it is. You can actually answer like, oh yeah, no, the Earth is a globe, and they're like, nah, there's actually no evidence for that. Basically, yeah, think about a map, right? And think about just an area of the world. Let's just say, just I guess for you, American continent. We're on North America, right? And as you go out, there is no Atlantic Pacific Ocean. What is there is something called the Pale, which is essentially nothingness. Data ceases to, information ceases to make sense. Mathematics ceases to make sense.
It's almost like otherworldly realm where the like logic made by the area, like if it was America or North America, like that just ceases to exist or doesn't make like it doesn't affect that area after you go out of it. Am I getting that? So like you're saying there's like a area outside, like instead of it being an ocean, there's just an area where like you said like things like science and math just don't make sense or don't like actually work in that. So yeah, it's just a lack of like the knowledge built in, like you said, like North American continent just doesn't work after you leave it. So everything's kind of divided in that sense. Oh, weird.
Right. And then
like,
there are other land masses, right? So it's like imagine you're sailing and then the sea just ends and it's just nothingness. But you can go through it. You can exist in it. But it will deteriorate you mentally.
So everything's regional. You have like no man's land in between all the other region, like the region locked areas.
Yeah.
Of, like
everything.
I get.
Right. And so this, it's called the Pale. You can inherit different lifetimes that you have just not experienced. Ostensibly, that's what it seems to do. You just fuck up your mind. And people that go through it, they get their minds sort of out of order, wacky. Now, the Pale is expanding, and one day it will encompass everything.
It's like a plague type thing. I see. It's like a storm's approaching. Okay, that's a neat concept.
Right, but it's not like a storm approaching. Because storms end. I'm talking about heat death. That's what I'm talking about.
I love how you said heat death. That's good example, Doug.
Yeah, I'm saying there is nothing after. That's it. This is pessimism,
like Iron Star level,
nihilism on crack. It's quite existential. it really does make you reframe existence. Because how can you have meaning from doing something looking for the future? Because a lot of people think of things as think of things through the destination. It's like, oh, I'm going to build something cool, so you know it can be enjoyed. Like the destination will be enjoyed. But what happens if everything that you've built, everything that you've worked towards, any technological advancement that you've made will cease to exist? Well, it makes you
Yeah, the
think,
only
right?
information you have would be reference of perspective, I guess. So it would be like everything that you view like you it would be like all individually put, like anything that you view is true or false would be through your own lens, since like, you know, even if you did that's really, I mean, at least that's what it seems like if you're gonna have like something that just is unable, like heat death or something, and like everything you did up to that point was just simply like unable to work or function, or doesn't like actually do anything, it just becomes null, then the I feel like the valuation of it would just be the perspective of the person, instead of it being like a group think sort of deal, like, you know, I solved this equation or something, or I invented an engine that's better. Like, it doesn't really matter if it doesn't work, but it would just end up being like you pretty much have to make your own reality at that point, right?
Yeah, you have to be intrinsically
Yeah.
driven instead of extrinsically driven. You have to find satisfaction from within instead of you know.
Sussification.
Is that what you call it?
No, I'm just memeing.
I don't even know
Yeah.
what the fuck that means. Sussification. Yeah, I do, and I definitely just I like existential shit, and I'm definitely very intrinsically driven. It's like I'll just write something and I'll only give it to a few people, and I have friends, he's like, why don't you just make a YouTube video? You know, you wrote a 4K review, and it's just like, I don't care. I don't care to have other people looking at something.
Okay, I guess this is like a big like meme question. Do you do it for yourself, or do you do it to prove your opinion to other people, or to show other people? Like when you do like essays or whatnot on reviews or whatever comes out of your head, you put on paper. It's for you, if anything, or like a close knit group of people that you want to show it to, compared to like just doing it to show people.
If I didn't have
Like,
that group of people, well, here's the question you asked: if there was no tight knit group of people, would you still do it? Yeah,
yeah.
I would still do it. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. No, that's cool though. Self agency.
Yeah, that's why, you know, when I see other people sort of go for, all right, let's go back to the Pokemon thing with Yezi, right? It's like he's trying to complete the Pokédex. I'm thinking, why? And I guess this helps flesh out. I guess you need to understand my perspective a little bit more, because it just looks like, wow, why are you judging someone for doing something they like? And from my perspective, I'm thinking it's like, well, a game has sort of given this objective to you, and the objective, for me, it's like, well, I think the objective is just really stupid. It's just a really stupid objective, because it's, what could I be doing with my time aside from doing this right now? I could be starting up another game, getting new experiences, and these experiences will probably outweigh any of the experience that I get from catching Pokemon. You know, it's like, oh, go to this area, now I need to catch 5 Pokemon. And so I kind of look down upon that, because now you're just you're basically, if I remove this quest from the game, right, I stopped giving it, let's say you can still catch all the Pokemon, but there is no Pokédex where it tracks any of this shit, you wouldn't be doing it. You wouldn't be doing it. But it's like with Dark Souls, when I play Dark Souls and I go for level 1, I do it because I think level 1 is cool. I think it's challenging. And there's nothing in the game that, you don't get an achievement for it, nothing tracks it, but I like doing it because I think it's cool, and I like setting out my own parameters, and a lot of Souls players will do this. There are things in the game you can do to cheese the game, but I like setting parameters for myself because I think the game, playing it, you know, we call it mano a mano around here. playing Mano a Mano Dark Souls is really entertaining, despite if somebody completes the game playing, you know, Mickey Mouse, it's still going to be the game is going to recognize it as the same completion. The game will never give me credit. And so I laugh at the idea of somebody sort of following what the game is telling them to do instead of seeking their own reality, because their own reality could be a lot more interesting. And it shows somebody,
right? Like I think it's like predetermined objectives and things like that. Like, and then you're like you're taking like multiple layers where it's like, what does the person do, and then like why are they playing it, and you're going to, oh, it's predetermined like objectives from a video game, and instead of them actually exploring it and playing it. That's what I'm getting from it.
Right. I think it's stupid. I think
really like to each their own, because like maybe it takes them to do those predetermined objectives to even like understand that they can explore the game. Sometimes it takes that like tricycle, like, you know, push gutter rail bowling thing where it's like, you know, go this direction, and then, you know, they like that one predetermined objective, and then they start making their own objectives, like I guess mano a mano or whatever. So it's like kind of like a stairway for
you're talking about somebody that's older than me, like.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know. What am I, like 25?
Right, and I'm not talking about a 3-year-old here or a 7-year-old. I'm talking about somebody that's grown. It's like you should have the imagination to be able to create your own tasks, because that gives you agency to get more enjoyment out of something. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't be. You should be old enough to realize this, instead of following the path, because I think it's a very dangerous mindset of, let's say it's like, okay, I want to go to university because my parents told me to do that, and they'll be very proud of me if I become a doctor. It's like, that's fucking stupid. It's like, I want to do it for myself, and I want to get the reward for myself, because like, what happens if my parents die? You know, tying it to dumb shit like that will end up, that thought process will end basically limiting you from doing something.
Well, it's like a gutter rail environment. I'm sure you know what a gutter rail is in bowling. It's like the things that keep the ball.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Gutter environment. The idea is like a lot of the time it works, and having like it's kind of how society works when it comes to like the upbringing of people. So I see where you're coming from, because it's kind of how like most are raised. Breaking that barrier is a kind of a proof of independent thought for I think like especially people in their like, you know, like 20s to like 40s, like that's a huge area. When you get people that are like, oh yeah, I did this because of my parents, you know, like either it works or they have a midlife crisis. Like it's like a wonder, because you're kind of limiting your options completely. To judge somebody on that's very hard though, because they probably don't even have control over it most of the time. You can't expect self-awareness.
I don't believe you have control over anything. I'm a hardcore determinist, right?
Yeah, got you. Yeah, facts, exactly. Yep.
So it's like, you know, in a way, it's like, yeah, you know, cause and effect, right? Also, I hate that. You know how people will sometimes go and they'll be like, yeah, but like they were put into this scenario. Well, it's like, well, at the end of the day, it's like, well, if you analyze the scenario, you know, they'll analyze the first layer of the onion, right? It's like, all right, well, this reaction had a cause, and I'm like, yeah, and that cause also had a cause, all the way until the beginning of the universe. You know what I mean? So it's like there's no blame, there's no anything.
It's called There's Only Turtles Down, like, or some shit. It's literally like there's an old one second, let me find it. I think it's all turtles down, like there's an old saying with it. Essentially everything has like a cause and effect, and it always will. It's yeah, I get you. Yeah. I can't judge somebody for being in that loop though. Like I can't be like I mean I know I don't really have much control out of what I say to them at a point. So it's like I realize that like especially when you get into like enjoyment, like that's a really big one. Enjoyment. Do you enjoy what you're doing? Like that is such a fucking subjective thing. Like some people just like, you know, like for one person, the enjoyment is like being a workaholic and like just working all the time. Another person is like doing nothing, and like they get the same amount of enjoyment out of it, right? I guess a really good question is, do you think they choose that, or it's like pre-built? If you're like, just straight predeterminist, like everything's built for a reason. I'm assuming no, they don't have any control over that. So
Yeah, oh yeah, they don't have any control over that. But the thing is, it's like there's a step you're missing, right? And in my head, it's I do care about maximizing the well-being. The reason why I look at these four processes and I'm like, this is fucking stupid, is because I don't think you are maximizing your well-being. I think if you take agency into your own hands, suddenly when you come in contact with a game, right, and there's a certain way there's a specific way to play the game, and the game will sort of give you that gutter rail to, let's say, catch all the Pokemon and shit like that. It's like, what happens if there was a way to play the game where, let's say, I now, separate universe, I create a new universe, but the gutter rail is for something else. It's actually for, competitive battling, and it encourages you to play competitive battling. And then I compare these two mental states of the person. It's like, they're not going to equally enjoy it. I feel like there is going to be a difference. The thing is, the person that's able... Right, let's to create a third person, a person that's able to experiment with different things in the game and find out what they enjoy, I think will maximize their well-being. And that's why I look down upon the very extrinsically driven person that only looks at, everything outside of them instead of looking within and thinking, what would I enjoy the most?
Why am I doing this in the first place? And do I actually enjoy it? Like I see where you're coming from, and I can't, no hate on that. That's fair. It's interesting because you're obviously like, I don't know, you're like you're a speed runner, like you do like speeding through games at some level. So like hearing like, I guess the term would be like min-maxing. Like you have like a min-maxing perspective on things, and it seems like it runs into like philosophy of being itself, which is pretty cool. So like, no hate there.
Right. Expand on that.
Well, like okay, you know what min-maxing is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like if you're going like it seems like did you find yourself like viewing this through something like where you like maybe it was like you took a course or something, or it was
No.
just you playing a video game? It was just kind of its own like self-thought that you just got out of.
Well, I don't believe anything is a self-thought, but it's probably a different combination of.
Yeah, like it was like something that you would consider I conjured up, like, or was it from like your viewing of people around you, like Yezi or something, that gave you this opinion?
I don't know where my very I think I've always been somebody that is quite intrinsically driven. It's like I'll be happy living a fucking hermit, I've always been like that. It's like no fucking like if I have no friends, nobody to talk to, it's like I don't give a fuck. I don't need that validation. And I still think friends are very important because I think that will maximize my well-being, and I sort of I have to make that effort to go and make friends and shit like that, because if I don't, I will never do it.
It's like a weird like you're pretty much forced to. I mean, as well, like with socialization, like I mean especially if you're talking about like creative prowess, like a lot of, I mean, as you don't see that you really have control over your own thoughts and whatnot, having other people that don't have control over their own thoughts being around you gives you a bigger, like a more expanded range of what thoughts you can have, if that makes any sense. Like the more, even if they're dumb, like like fucking like, I don't know, just find some random crackhead off the street. Like, I mean, you're at least getting some sort of like response to what they're saying in some way that will lead to your opinions future on. So like sociability for people that are they could be like, oh, hermits or whatever, like that's still a necessity for creativity in some level, right? So like I get you. I think like, I guess I'll put it in my own spell. I also think that like being alone is, I don't know, there's like a ebb and flow with it, where if you're alone, you're going to make your own ecosystem, and it becomes kind of an echo chamber of yourself. And then like I guess the right word would be best case, it's like, you can flow with it like your entire life. Like you're saying, you could just be a hermit, you'd be fine. Or it becomes like extremely stagnant loop where you're just like not getting anything really, because like, especially if you like you're like, oh, I want to make my own ideas. There's going to be a point where you do everything in a certain game that just becomes like, like what do you do after that? Like where are you going to get advice from another person to play a game if you don't have anyone around you to recommend it? Yeah. really bad example, but like I'm sure like if you want to pierce it, it'd be like logistically you could go and like just go on the internet now. But anyway, it does help, and socialization, especially with the way that you form thoughts and whatnot as well, like mentally. It's a huge W, because like if you're just like in your own perpetual thought loops over and over, and you don't have like any sort of outside stimuli from it, then you'll almost make like your own language in like how you act and respond to things, which is completely different from everything around you if you don't have any outside stimuli. So it could be a real like Achilles heel, like for a lot of people, I guess. That's the best way to put it, I think. I don't know. If you were to just like be alone for 50 years, do you think you would be at the same like emotional stance that you're at right now at the very end of the 50 years? Like, do you think you'd like think the same, or do you think you'd like have some change of like the way you act completely if you're just like alone for 50 years? Pretend you have everything you need to do that. Like you just have like a cabin in the woods or some shit.
Right.
You just
Well, I don't
isolate.
know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's valid.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know if I would, because that outside stimuli is important. It's like we express ourselves in an environment, and could I be creative?
Yeah, how far do you think your creativeness would go, like without any outside stimuli? Is a really good way of putting it.
I'd say I go pretty far.
Pretty far, yeah, yeah. I hear that from a lot of people that like I guess what's the term, hikikomori, or like I don't know, I'll just say like incel type shit, where they're just like fuck
Right.
everyone. I'm just you're gonna stay in a room and shit. Like it's like the same. Like I think those types of people like they have like there's a different like span, but then you have to think like, why is that the case? Like, is that from me having like outside stimuli for like over stimuli perhaps over a period of time that allows me to have like such
Yeah, I'd probably
a
say
data?
that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like if you were
interesting.
born in a blank room, you know what I mean? Like, as little stimuli as possible, I think it would be very, very, very limited. I think I like society in the way that it can sort of, two heads are better than one, basically. It's a lot easier to come up with ideas just having another person there. Like, even if they don't fucking say shit, it's just way easy. It's that environment that just creates ideas. I think it's a very good environment. So I think it's the internet and being alone is able to, you can be very creative with
Like
just about.
you still have an external source of stimuli through like the
Yeah.
internet. I mean, what's interesting too is like think like I guess more words for thought. Like try to compare pre-internet to post-internet like isolation, right? And I think for our generation, it's a really easy and probably the best route to start thinking pre-internet and like what it would be like for someone isolated in that environment. Compare like and then using that to compare to like present day isolationism. That's really good because like let's say like I don't know if you're a I'll give you like an example. If you're like a hermit that lives in a cabin in the woods, regardless if there's anyone around you for stimuli, you'll still find things like maybe the creek the next to your cabin or something. The water might move a certain way occasionally. Like it becomes really like the mind just finds things for stimuli if it's depleted of it. And so like that's prior internet, right? Prior internet, like but a lot of like good writers in like the 1800s, for instance, like I guess call it like Charles Dickensing things. It's a really good point. Yeah, Charles Dickensing. Like I don't know if you know who Charles Dickens is, like an
Yeah, I
old
do.
18. Yeah, like, he just adds a bunch of adjectives and kind of like makes a really nice visual imagery through words, right? It's kind of what that term is. So like you'll start finding like at least it seems like a lot of people prior to internet. Sorry, I can't talk. Um, end up like min maxing. I'm going to use that to get min maxing like odd stimuli around their environment, regardless of it being from a person or something like that. Like your interest in like stimuli changes from like a socialization perspective to an observant perspective of the environment. I don't know. It's really cool to think about, especially if you start analyzing yourself and your own behaviors. It's pretty neat. I personally have to go to a bar and hang out with people in a few minutes, so I got to dip, but Nice talk, Mr. Joe.
Yeah.
Have a good
Have a good day. I have no idea what your own name is. Where the fuck did everyone go?